welcome to the first and third Sundays. This is offered through Portland Insight Meditation Center here on my Zoom account in Southeast Portland, the home of the Multnomah tribes and the Chinook tribes, and I'm really happy to be able to be of service to the Dhamma to each of you here. I'm always happy to be able to spend this time for myself meditating. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd find something else to do. So it's great to see each of you. And here comes the bell. Letting ourselves find our noble position. Find the place that we can be as comfortable as possible. In our chairs, on our sofa, on our sitting cushion. And just allowing the mind to begin to come back into the body in case it was roaming around out there. And just notice for a moment or two, taking an inside sweeping of the mind through the body, letting some relaxation occur as much as possible. Behind the eyes and around the temples. In the face, facial muscles, and in our jaw. Our neck, our shoulders. I like the image of wearing my shoulders like a cape. And somehow in there, I began imagining a starry night, including the stars of the night surrounding me and my cape, my shoulders like the cape. And letting this sense of relaxation sweeping through the body. We stay upright, but we let the muscles relax. The bones can hold us. In Tai Chi, they always talk about letting the muscles relax and putting the weight on the bones. Of course, now these bones at these joints often are stiffer than the muscles, but I'll leave that aside. Letting the relaxation flow down through our torso and trunk, relaxing around our hearts, our bellies. Noticing gravity settling us into the chair. And we can notice the flowing of that relaxation energy flowing through our legs and our feet. Under each foot, feeling first the left foot and then the right foot. We might feel, if we're just on the left foot, we might feel the pressure of whatever's under our foot, the floor. Sometimes it can feel dense, or other times it can feel spacious, or there might be heat. We You just notice it's in the present moment, knowing whatever's happening at the pressure under the left foot. Coming into the body. And what pressure is under the right foot? What does that feel like? And we can use these points of contact at the feet or at the buttocks in the chair as a returning point into the body as an anchor. If we get a little too lost in thought, we can gently bring ourselves back to the breath at the touch points, one of those points where we can feel most noticeably. And also another common place to gather our attention is at the nostrils or at the belly, noticing the breath. In some of the earliest teachings of the Buddha, the Anapanasati Sutta, the instructions are to notice whether the breath on the inhale is a short breath or a long breath. It focuses our attention. It's an observation. Mindfulness is with us. Awareness is there. And on the exhale, noticing if the exhale is a long breath or a short breath. And you can notice it also at the diaphragm. So whichever point it's easier to let your attention rest, at the nostrils, the diaphragm, or gravity in the body at the buttocks on the chair. We bring our attention. We may notice heat or coolness. We may notice pressure, density, or spaciousness. We're gathering the attention at a single object, mindfulness being there, awareness, a neutral observation, mindfulness pays attention to what's happening in the present moment. And as we're sitting, we hold ourselves in kindness, in gentleness, and have gratitude to ourselves for the generosity that we show ourselves in choosing to pay attention to the training of the mind and the heart. We can acknowledge and have appreciation for the Buddha and the other illuminated ones, the other Buddhas that went before him, all of those enlightened beings who chose to teach. And the Buddha found what we're doing after many other approaches for 6 or 7 years. He perfected as far as he could with the teachers that he followed, and realized that in each of those practices, he never had total freedom from suffering. And so he saw clearly for himself the challenges that clinging and craving can bring to our hearts and minds. And didn't teach very many fancy techniques, just the simplicity of understanding the 3 characteristics of existence, of that there's suffering and discomfort in being born human. And that as we see clearly, conditions arise, they come together, they stay for a period of time, and they pass. And we're training the mind to not fall into extremes, but be present with mindfulness, with awareness, to see clearly this arising and passing away that we cannot hang on to. We can't grasp or call it mine. And so those 3 characteristics, dukkha, anicca, anatta, constantly changing is anicca, and non-personal, anatta. And so we take that time as we do a formal sitting practice here of being present with what arises. Everything that we create comes to us through one of our sense doors. Hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, and the thought door. And we want to be with things just as they are and grow confidence or faith in the practice of seeing clearly and beginning to understand the 4 noble truths, that suffering does exist, that it happens because of craving and clinging, that there is freedom from it, and that there's a path. And so we keep it simple. We attend to the breath or the touch point. We notice when the mind door is busy receiving thoughts, and we might get caught in a loop of some long thinking pattern, maybe a new one, maybe a repeated one that we've had many times before. And we can wake up in that moment and notice, make a soft, gentle note that thinking is happening. And we may notice right there one of the feeling tones of pleasant or unpleasant, or we can't really tell. It's a neutral sensation, or there's confusion. Also often referred to as delusion, deluded. We might grasp at something, wanting to hang on to it. We might push something away, or maybe we can't tell. Greed, hatred, and delusion. They often accompany us. But not to be discouraged. In fact, we gladden the mind when we notice these things. When we notice thinking is occurring, or we notice a repetitive thought that's a negative thought form, we can just let it go. We let go when we can. Investigation can arise and notice that this is not useful. And we can incline our hearts and minds toward more skillful thinking. If we're going to engage in thoughts, we can remind ourselves of the good deeds we've done. We can remind ourselves of stories we might have heard about the Buddha. We can remind ourselves of compassion that we have for ourselves and for others. We can be thankful for the effort that we are putting forth to be here. Just the right amount of effort is needed to be interested in what's happening right now. What is the mood of the mind right now? What is happening in the body? Not that we go out and search for it, but we just have openness to allow mindfulness to be present and awareness to notice what's happening. We can gain confidence as we go from moment to moment of the arising and passing away of conditioned things that arise and pass away. So we have a toolbox. We can return to the breath, noticing if it's long or short, noticing the quality of the breath. Sometimes the breath disappears. It's there, we can see it, but we have more of a bird's eye view of a broader spectrum of what else is arising. we choose what we need at the time. That's where wisdom comes in. If the mind is busy, we can keep it more attentive on the single object of the breath. Or if there's tiredness in the body and the mind, we can open our awareness to the other sense doors. Hearing far away or close up. Hearing being known. Or we can open our eyes a little and just let light flow in. Slowly we develop concentration. Slowly we develop concentration. Noticing what arises and falls. Pressure, heat, coolness. We have fluidity of the mind flowing from object to object, noticing when it arises, how long it lasts, when it passes. And we can find delight in being present, in waking up each moment that we notice we might not know where we are. We just begin again without judgment or criticism. And mindfulness is always present, balancing. Balancing the faith or confidence with the discernment, wisdom. Balancing the right amount of effort with concentration. As we return to the breath or the sit point, or as we wake up, whatever moment we notice we don't know where we are, we're lost in confusion, we can begin right where we are. What's happening in the mind right now? Or this is the way it is right now. Natural, easeful. If there's tension in the body or in the mind, we can notice it and be present with it. Sometimes as soon as we notice it, it's like a little aha moment. There's time to say, tension is occurring. And we can go from there. Can we relax around that? Or maybe we notice aversion. What quality of the mind might come up next? Is there aversion to it? Or if there's a pleasant state of mind that we're feeling, do we have attachment to that one? It's constant phenomenon rolling on. And seeing this phenomenon rolling on can bring us a happiness that we have awareness there. And as we repeatedly notice what arises and passes with just enough effort and interest to continue the practice, gladdening the mind that we're waking up when we are, and that gladdening can also turn into a more stable sense of happiness. Sukha, the opposite of dukkha, a stabilizing happiness. As we see the benefits of letting go, we can train our minds breathing in, experiencing a joy, breathing out, experiencing happiness. As we calm mental activity and calm the bodily activity, it just naturally happens. We experience the mind and steady the mind, gladdening the mind, training on the in-breath and on the out-breath. Breathing in, gladdening the mind. Breathing out, gladdening the mind. Breathing in, steadying the mind. Breathing out, steadying the mind. Contemplating impermanence. A certain dispassion can arise. Cessation of the unskillful thoughts that fall away. Letting go. The full awareness of our breathing. There are many texts about one of the oldest, 3rd century, I think, Vietnamese Zen Buddhist master was quoted as saying, "Mindfulness of breathing is the great vehicle used by the Buddhas to save beings who are drifting and sinking in the ocean of suffering." letting mindfulness of breathing be embraced by our awareness. It can temporarily keep away the defilements or the hindrances because we're concentrating. Having just enough concentration to be attentive to what's happening. And that can sometimes use very little energy. The energy can be very light. Present in kindness, holding ourselves gently. Returning to the anchor in the body, the container of our breath. Whether we're seeing it at the nostrils or the belly, or whether it's more spacious throughout the body. Letting kindness for ourselves and compassion when things are challenging. Letting those qualities arise in our heart-mind. Holding within our hearts ourselves and others. We may choose a friend or a teacher or a neutral person. Letting this kindness pervade our being and include others. Reminding ourselves of just enough energy to be interested. This practice of the Brahma Viharas is a concentration practice. It gives the heart and mind a place to rest and to repeat that we hold ourselves kindly, that we have compassion. May I take care of myself happily. May my mind be at ease. And including that friend or benefactor or neutral person, may there be ease, kindness. May our hearts be filled with kindness and compassion for ourselves and others. May this kindness in our hearts be felt in other directions, to friends and loved ones, neutral person of our neighbors, people we don't know, that this kindness may live in our hearts, live in our bodies, and emanate in all directions, to the north, to the east, to the south, and to the west, that all beings everywhere know happiness, find compassion for themselves and for others. Have happiness in the causes of happiness. That this well-wishing may flow to those beings seen and unseen, above and below the earth, those that swim and crawl and fly, those that are in suffering, and those that are in joy. May all beings everywhere know their true nature. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakitava merchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence, arise and pass away. Seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. May the goodness of our practice benefit all sentient beings. Thank you for taking this time for yourself, for sitting